Hey guys, welcome back to our channel. Since our last video, the world has gotten pretty crazy. With practically the whole world shut down and businesses closed down in fear of a highly contagious virus, I feel like it's a perfect time to talk about a little movie called I Am Legend. And before we start, I do want to say that I don't mean to make light of the situation. I want to say a huge thank you to the doctors and nurses and all other essential employees, other than Marquez, who are working tirelessly to save people's lives and keep the world afloat. Now on to the video. I specifically remember going to see I Am Legend in theaters for the first time when I was younger. I very distinctly remember going to eat at Cece's Pizza beforehand. I remember getting my heart ripped out during a certain scene with a dog that we don't talk about. And I remember an ending to the movie that at the time I actually loved. A movie actually had the guts to kill off its main hero in the first movie? Wow. It was something that 12-year-old me didn't think was possible in movie rulebooks. And so when the DVD came out and I realized that there was an alternate ending where Will Smith actually lives, I thought it was highly inferior to the theatrical ending. But as I got older and dare I say more cultured, I started realizing how the alternate ending ties the movie together much better and is in many ways superior to the theatrical ending. And it's not just because Will Smith survives. So let me explain what happens in the alternate ending. It plays exactly how the theatrical one does, where the massive horde invades Neville's house. Neville, Anna, and Ethan all rush into his lab and get behind the glass wall. The lead monster is banging on the glass, and Neville begins hearing his daughter's voice saying, "Daddy, look at the butterfly." Here's where the changes begin. Instead of the butterfly tattoo that he sees being on Anna, in the alternate ending, it's on the female monster that he has sedated and has been experimenting on trying to find a cure. He then realizes that the horde isn't here to attack him, Anna, and Ethan, but to rescue one of their own, specifically the significant other to the creature's leader. So he wheels the female infected out, injects her with something that makes her wake up, and says, "I'm sorry." And the horde all leave the house without harming the trio. Neville then sets out with Anna and Ethan, and they leave New York City together. This ending works much better in a few different ways. One, it makes more sense and is in line with other events that happened earlier in the movie. Two, it creates a better arc for Neville's character. And three, it creates a deeper meaning to the movie and to the title.
What the hell are you doing out here, Fred? What the hell are you... No!
If we look back at events that happened earlier in the movie, it's established that the creatures have some intelligence to them. When Neville first sets a trap that captures a female creature, you see the lead creature run out before stopping once he's reached sunlight and starts to yell. Pretty soon after, Neville is recording a video journal.
Behavioral note. An infected male exposed himself to sunlight today. Now, it's possible decreased brain function or growing scarcity of food is causing them to ignore their basic survival instincts. Social de-evolution appears complete. Typical human behavior is now entirely absent.
But we find out in the alternate ending it's because the creature Neville kidnaps is his significant other. Then later in the movie, the creatures are able to cleverly entrap Neville by moving Fred the mannequin. Fun side note, the filmmakers brought in a mime to play Fred in this scene and turn his head slightly to try and play with the audience's minds while watching the scene. Freaking creepy if you ask me. And then they were able to recreate a similar trap to capture Neville. Then when Neville tries to commit suicide after losing Sam, it's the lead creature who breaks into his overturned car before Anna comes to Neville's rescue. Finally, at the end of the movie, the Horde is invading Neville's house. One creature is seen tearing the ceiling open to strategically let the rest of the Horde into the house. All of these actions mean nothing in the theatrical ending. The creatures are just your typical mindless beasts attacking Neville and invading his home in the third act of a blockbuster movie.
There's no survivors colony, no safe zones, nothing happened the way it was supposed to happen. Nothing worked the way that it was supposed to work.
In the mountains, there's a whole colony of people there who didn't get sick.
Throughout the runtime of the movie, Neville is shown to be obsessed with staying in New York City, or Ground Zero as he calls it.
I can still fix this.
Please, you can do the same work outside the city.
This is Ground Zero. This is my site. We talked about this.
He feels it's his duty to stay until he finds a cure and rejects Anna's offer to come with them to the colony in Vermont. After the scene where Neville rejects Anna's notion that there is a survivors colony, he comes down the stairs to see Ethan watching the movie Shrek. The dialogue from the movie begins with Shrek being confronted by knights who tell him,
I am authorized to place you both under arrest and transport you to a designated resettlement facility.
which is very similar to how Anna is wanting Neville to come with her and Ethan to the colony in Vermont. Shrek replies with,
Oh, really? You in what army?
The Shrek scene goes on to one with Shrek and Donkey. Neville begins reciting the lines along with the movie.
Yes, I was talking to you.
Can I just tell you that you was really great
Back then, those gods, they thought it was all that. Then you showed up and bam, they were tripping over themselves like babes in the woods.
It starts to become clear that the dialogue in the movie reflects how Neville feels about the situation with Anna and the colony in Vermont.
Now, why don't you go celebrate your freedom with your own friends? But I don't have any friends.
Once Anna realizes the malicious intent Neville has with reciting the scene, you can see the offended look on her face. Neville continues with Donkey's dialogue, making it clear that he views Anna as Donkey in their situation.
And I'm not going out there by myself. Hey, wait a minute, I got a great idea. I'll stick with you.
Anna finally leaves the room in disgust. Neville is highly pessimistic of the world, which is showcased greatly in an argument where Anna tries to explain that her coming to his house was part of God's plan, and he angrily replies,
All right, let me tell you about your God's plan. There were 6 billion people on Earth when the infection hit. KV had a 90% kill rate. That's 5.4 billion. Every single person that you or I has ever known is dead. There is no God.
Towards the end of the movie, Neville tells a story about Bob Marley to Anna.
He believed that you could cure racism and hate, literally cure it, by injecting music and love into people's lives.
He later goes on to explain about how on the day Bob Marley was supposed to perform at a peace rally, these people came to his house and shot him. But 2 days later, he still performed and explained that
The people who are trying to make this world worse are not taking a day off. How can I light up the darkness?
Neville takes that last half of this story to be his driving motivation. He feels he needs to fight off these savage beasts and find a cure. And in the theatrical ending, he takes the last part a bit literally by lighting himself up in the darkness.
It's like poetry, so if they rhyme, every stanza kind of rhymes with the last one. Hopefully it'll work.
Which, let's be honest, even if it weren't for the fact that they made a blatant point that there is room for Neville to hide with Anna and Ethan,
Neville, there's room here, come.
blowing yourself up isn't going to stop the rest of the massive horde that's invading the house. But in the alternate ending, he begins to fully realize the meaning of that first half of that Bob Marley story. The part about curing hate with love by setting the female creature he had been experimenting on free to go back and be with her significant other who obviously loved and cared for her. He is then able to overcome his obsession with staying in New York City by heading out with Anna and Ethan. He is able to find the light within all the darkness that he had previously been living in and begin living in this new world he found himself in. It's at this point that I want to bring up the book of the same name that I Am Legend is loosely based on. The book does make a better point of showing that they have more humanity than the main character realizes. They are more akin to vampires in the book than zombies as they are in the movie. But nevertheless, the movie still does a decent job at this. They are able to think strategically, feel emotion for one another, and have the capability of being peaceful as they leave Neville and the group alone once they've rescued one of their own. Now you may be asking yourself, but in this version, how does the title I Am Legend make sense? Well, while blowing yourself up would certainly cement your role of a legend, in this version, Neville is still the legend, but in a very different sense. To all of the creatures, he is a legendary monster, the boogeyman that they are all afraid of. Surprisingly, the alternate ending was the real ending before it tested poorly with test audiences. And honestly, as I was typing the script, it made me really think about just how American the theatrical ending is. I mean, you have this macho hero blowing up himself and a massive horde of mindless zombies to save a woman and child. He becomes a legend that saves the day and humanity, instead of realizing that this whole time, he was unknowingly being a villainous legend to these creatures. It's similar to how everywhere except the US, the ending of the movie The Descent had the main character's heroic escape from the cave be a dream she was having, and she awakes still helplessly stuck in the cave. But since US test audiences didn't like that, the studio changed the ending just for the US to where her escape wasn't a dream and ends with her safely driving away. It's these changes and cliches that show that maybe test audiences aren't always correct.
The world is quieter now. You just have to listen. If we listen, we can hear God's plan.
God's plan.
Yeah.
Open the door, please.
What are you doing?
I'm listening.
Hey guys, just a quick update on our channel. With all this coronavirus COVID-19 craziness, me and Marquez have decided to, just for the safety of our families, just to stay separate for the time being, especially since he's 45 minutes away working in our hometown, since he's considered an essential employee. But we do have the next two parts of our Best of the Decade series recorded. I think that's picks 50 through 31 if I'm doing the math right. We recorded it before all this got super crazy. So we just have to edit those and upload those. And also I have a few more ideas for these video essays, and I know Marquez has a few ideas of his own. So while we won't be having our usual movie reviews or Best of the Decade videos, at least not finishing them off, we'll at least have some content to upload to our channel when we're not too busy or feeling too lazy. So yeah, that's pretty much all I have for y'all. I just wanted to give y'all an update with all the craziness that's in the world. Just hope you are staying safe and practicing social distancing and staying inside and self-quarantine. Hope you all have a good day, and we'll see you next time.